What's good? What's good? What's good, family? It is me, Coach 67 Sports TV. Shout out to the awesome and amazing LDBC, Lions Den Broadcasting Community. Shout out to the Louisiana All American Sports Network. And shout out to Innovision Photography and welcome to season 1, episode 1 of the Tailgate Party. So sit back, buckle up, relax, and enjoy the ride, Jadik. All right. Let's get ready to get this party started. In fact, let's let a few more people in the building, and we're gonna get it. We're gonna get it started, and then I'm gonna do my sound check, and we're gonna keep it pushing. I plan on being here for a good time, but not for a long time on this. All right. Let's do sound check real quick. If you already in here, if you let me see. All right, let's get it kicked off. Let's see who is in the building. You dig? Adrian Crook, the losing in life already. Shout out to Adrian Crook. Motivation to be a millionaire. He said, salute, Coach 67. Chat, HBCU family, and Jaguar Nation. Salute, motivation to be a millionaire. He also put in the chat, go Jags. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. You already know what it is. Relax and calm rain. He said, salute, Coach, Chat, and Jaguar Nation. He also got a Go Jags. You already know what it is. Your boy Jay in the chat. Go Jags. Man, y'all already know what it is. So, we getting ready to get this party started. We already know Saturday, 6:30 in Atlanta, week 0. The SWAC MEAC challenge. Now I know a lot of people like, man, coach, is MEAC SWAC. No. In my personal opinion, it's gonna always be the SWAC first, and then the MEAC. And of course, we got Johnny Thornton in the building. He said, "Go North Carolina Central." Hey, we gonna see what they're gonna do. Come Saturday. You know what I'm saying? When they got them Jags on, you know what I'm saying? Adrian Crook said, "Yup, SWAC MEAC. Yup, not MEAC SWAC, SWAC MEAC." You know what I'm saying? So that's the way it should be. So y'all already know what it is. Week 0, North Carolina Central versus Southern. Of course, head coach for North Carolina Central is former Southern University defensive coordinator Trey Oliver. And the thing about North Carolina Central, salute to Kevin Jackson. He said, "Go Jags, yes, sir." The thing about North Carolina Central is North Carolina Central, they one of the top teams in the MEAC, no question about it. Just like Southern is a blue blood, and Jackson State and Grambling, South Carolina State, North Carolina Central is definitely a blue blood. You can't knock North Carolina Central. They got a good coach. Salute to Will Wallace. He said, "Go Eagles." So we already know that North Carolina Central is a blue blood in these HBCU streets. And in addition to that, not only are they a blue blood, but, they're a well-coached team. They're physical. They're going to punch you in the mouth. They're physical up front on both sides of the ball. You know what I'm saying? So it's definitely going to be, a big time showdown. You know what I'm saying? So it's going to be a big time matchup. It's going to be a big time showdown. But, as a coach, middle school coach, junior high coach, I always had my teams prepared for what they're going to face in the opposition. They knew the scout report. They knew what type of defense the opposing team ran. They knew what type of offense the opposing team ran. They knew all the key players to watch out for the opposing team. And in addition to that, they knew everything from a special team standpoint. So they knew the whole scouting report. However, my focus was, hey, know your opposition, know what are their strengths, what weaknesses they have, what areas they're deficient in. We had a whole SWOT analysis breakdown. Strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats. However, and shout out to Autism Boy Cottage 81. However, my focus was never really truly on the opposition. I wanted my team to have the knowledge of the opposition so they can't say, hey, we got out here and, hey, coach, we didn't know what to expect. They always knew what to expect. However, our primary focus was on us. Who are our key players? What are our strengths? What are our weaknesses? So on and so forth. You know what I'm saying? So that's going to be pretty much my focus in today's breakdown. Of course, I'm covering things from a Southern University perspective. And your boy Jay said, did anybody watch Coach Graves' press conference earlier today? I didn't really get a chance to watch it like I wanted to because it was open house tonight at my school, and we had the parent-teacher conferences. Even though I'm in an administrative role and I really didn't have any parents, I really couldn't watch like I wanted to because technically I was on the clock, if you understand what I'm saying. But, salute to my brother Jared 11 Green. Of course, y'all be certain to come through Thursday night, probably early Friday, 1 or 2, whichever one is going to air. Season 1, episode 1 of HBCU Fanatics. Of course, for those individuals that follow my channel, I've been doing HBCU Fanatics. He and I, we've been doing HBCU Fanatics. However, we've officially moved it to his channel, and we turning up over there. So be sure to come through. We're gonna do the same breakdown. The only difference between my breakdown and a breakdown here, HBCU Fanatics is more from a balanced perspective, from the standpoint of we're gonna look at the strengths and weaknesses and key points. It's purely from a Southern University. So first and foremost, let's get it started on the defensive side of the ball. We know that Southern is bringing back Kelby Givens, and your boy just said, the only thing I didn't agree with what he said is he's going to play both QBs. I hope that's just coach talk. I'm not gonna lie, I'm gonna be truthful. I think they might play McCoy at some point, but I think the whole situation with him and Coach Frederick, I feel like it's all gamesmanship from the perspective of we know Jalen Woods. He's kind of like a lot like Austin Howard to me. He's more of a pure pocket passer. He's not a great runner. He's not a great athlete, but he go through his progression quick. He make his reads quickly. He gets rid of the ball quickly. He makes a good catchable pass. He throws a good catchable pass. He's on time, and he's your pure pocket passer. Whereas Cameron McCoy, he's more of a athletic dual threat type quarterback, more like a Thomas Ricks type. Even though I think Thomas Ricks probably was a better passer than him, from what I'm understanding. So I think that's more gamesmanship from the standpoint of you want your opposition to prepare for two quarterbacks with two opposing styles, one dual threat and one pure pocket passer. But Jalen Woods has separated himself, in my personal opinion, and everybody that I know rock with me, based on what he did at the end of the season last year, and in addition to what he did at the end of the season last year, what he did in the spring, and I think he's earned his stripes. And not only that, but what he's done just early on in the season. So at the end of the day, Jalen Woods is clearly the starting quarterback. So your boy Jay, I think that's more gamesmanship than anything. But let's start on the defensive side. We know SWAC co-defensive player of the year and back-to-back preseason SWAC defensive player of the year, Kelby Givens. He's the focal point of Southern University's defensive line, and just the defense in particular. He the player that you have to block. And I'm not going to lie, North Carolina Central is synonymous for being just physical, a good team up front, really on both sides of the ball, but especially from an offensive standpoint. We saw how they punched Jackson State in the mouth a couple years ago in the Heritage Bowl. Of course, Deion was still a head coach at the time, but even with that being said, that is North Carolina Central's brand of football. Physical, smash them out, punch in the mouth. So, Southern defensively, especially up front defensively, Southern is going to need to, Southern is going to need to, play up front. And Kelby Givens, he's going to need to wreak havoc like he's always done. He's going to need to be disruptive. He's going to need to play on the opposite side of the line of scrimmage. And that's one thing about him. No matter everything I would do to him as a coach, I've seen teams do him. Basically, they win plays where they left him on block and, he living in the backfield. Then I've seen him double him. I've seen him chip him. I've seen teams try to run right at him. I've seen teams trying to run away from him. So no matter what approach you take to trying to take care of Kelby Givens has handled his business, you know what I'm saying? So I think, for Southern defensively, it starts first and foremost with Kelby Givens. And Autism Boy said 100%, I think I think SU can knock off North Carolina Central by 15. I'm going to get to my prediction a little bit later. But even with that being said, up front, Southern going to need to be – they play fast, but they're going to need to play fast. And then they're going to need to, do their thing up front defensively. And, man, shout out to my brother Jay Good, former Southern University player. Man, shout out to my brother Jay Good, checking in. But like I was saying, though, so up front defensively, Southern is going to need to be physical and be aggressive. And North Carolina Central is going to have to strongly account for Kelby Givens. Are they going to double him? Are they going to chip on him? Are they going to try to run right at him? Are they going to try to run away from him? Because, see, when we talk about Southern University defensive ends, you know what I'm saying? Jordan Lewis was one that teams would run right at since he was so undersized. But Kelby Givens, he a little bit bigger than Jordan Lewis. He's stronger than Jordan Lewis was. And, Kelby Givens is more disruptive, you know what I'm saying? Where I felt like Jordan Lewis was more of an elite level pass rusher. I feel like Kelby Givens is more of a good all-around defensive end. And that's why he the reigning SWAC co-defensive player of the year. And that's why this year, for the second year in a row, he's been preseason SWAC defensive player of the year. So that's up front. Of course, on that next level, Vincent Page Jr. Also, now he wants to be known as Vincent Sullivan. Kind of reminds me of LaShawn Kenneth Peebles. He was Kenneth Peebles for like 2-3 years, and then all of a sudden, the second to last year, his last year eligibility, now you'll be known as LaShawn Peebles. I'm like, bro, you done always been Kenneth Peebles. Now why you want to be LaShawn Kenneth Peebles? But that's another story. So you definitely got to watch out for Vincent Sullivan on the next level, and also you got to watch out for Mike Jones. But Southern secondary is, I think, vastly underrated. Henry Miller has been raving and ranting about Elijah West, how Elijah West is going to definitely be a problem in the secondary. So they feel like Elijah West is due for a breakout season this season. So you're definitely going to have to watch him. And, of course, you got to watch Horatio Johnson and Herman Bristol III. Herman Bristol III going to be roaming around trying to knock somebody's helmet off. Of course, both of these are safeties. But, Horatio Johnson has more versatility than Herman Bristol III. Herman Bristol III is more of like a ball hawk type safety. I don't want to throw Sean Wallace's name around too quickly. I think he kind of a combination of maybe Corian Harris and Sean Wallace. He's a Sean Wallace type ball hawk. However, he also is like a Corian Harris in terms of he's able to make plays on the back end. So he kind of have like both of the attributes, even though Sean Wallace was good in terms of making plays. Because I remember Sean Wallace Jr. year, he had a pick six, I think. I think it might have been a pick six in the Bayou Classic. Of course, senior year, he was the SWAC Defensive Player of the Year. And I'm going to talk about Sean Wallace a little bit later on. But, Southern defensively, they have to do what they've been synonymous for doing, flying around, being aggressive, playing fast defensively. So that's what they're going to need to do. They're going to need to be the elite level defense they've been for the past few years. So that's on the defensive end. Now we getting ready to transition to the offensive end. And, man, shout out to my brother, Brent Fox. He said, salute, Coach 67 Sports TV. Man, salute my brother, the Lieutenant Brent Fox. Y'all be certain to go to my brother Brent Fox channel and check him out. We need to get the numbers up. We need to go support my brother over there. Major shout out to my brother Brent Fox. Your boy Jay said this might be the best secondary Southern has had in years if they play to their potential stars and size everywhere. Big facts, your boy Jay. That's an excellent point. But Southern secondary is, they got some dogs in that secondary. No denying it. It is what it is. Now, let's shift over to the offensive side of the ball for Southern University. Now, we talked about your boy Jay. He brought this up in terms of the quarterback situation. Southern University's defense has carried Southern for the past few years. However, Southern University's quarterback play the last few years that's left a lot to be desired. When Southern went to the SWAC championship game a few years ago and they played against Jackson State, the biggest issue that Coach Dooley had was instead of starting a quarterback that should have been starting, who's the incumbent starter from the previous year, and Glenda Bubba McDaniels, he went with Bashawn McCray, who was just essentially a glorified running back, playing quarterback. Then he put Harold Blood in, and Harold Blood played one series and he turned the ball over, just like Bashawn McCray the series before that. And then after that, he brought Bashawn McCray back in the game, who turned the ball over again. And by the time Glenda Bubba McDaniels came in the game, Southern literally was down 26-0. Glenda Bubba McDaniels went out. He finally, Coach Dooley decided to put him in the game, and Glenda Bubba McDaniels balled out. Had Glenda Bubba McDaniels played the way he played, and Eric Dooley started him from the beginning of the game, from the outset of the game, I honestly believe and fervently believe Southern wins that game. Then they go on the Celebration Bowl and beat South Carolina State. But that's neither here nor there. Then the next season, we had Harold Blood, who was the backup in that SWAC championship game, in which he played terrible in. His last season at Southern, he left a lot to be desired. Just to be honest, he stunk the joint up. Then last year, it was Noah Barton's turn to start, and he struggled as well. Then they went to Xavier Zayt, former Scotlandville High quarterback, more of an athletic dual threat quarterback. He was young. He has a lot of upside potential, but he was extremely inconsistent. Then at the end of the season, they eventually they ended up landing on Jalen Woods. Jalen Woods came in the game late in the game against Bethune-Cookman. He led Southern to a 5 overtime win against Bethune-Cookman. Then after that, they beat UAPB to seal a SWAC West, and then he lead them to a win in a Bayou Classic. However, this was the issue. The issue was that he got hurt in the Bayou Classic, and he did not play in the SWAC championship game against Jackson State. That ended up winning Xavier Zayt set. Zay played well in spots, but I felt like from a play calling standpoint, Mark Frederick, he really, the first half he did a good job play calling. Southern was up by 7, and they were on the plus side of the field, and they had an opportunity to at least kick a field goal and go up 2 scores, maybe even score a touchdown. However, he reverted back to his same old play calling, and that ended up being it. But the point I'm trying to make is Southern eventually found a starting quarterback. And it was, for the most part, they've been saying it's been a quarterback battle. In my mind, Jalen Woods has been a guy. He had a great spring. So Jalen Woods is going to be the starting quarterback. I think the quarterback play is much improved from last year. I'm confident that he's gonna play well. And my issue with, if they actually do play both quarterbacks, in my mind as a coach, the instances I had to play 2 quarterbacks, I didn't have one. So if you play 2, that means you don't have one, in my opinion. Either that you got 2 phenomenal quarterbacks or you don't have one. And I lean more towards you don't have an actual starting quarterback. So I think Jalen Woods is going to be the guy, like I said, pure pocket passer. He goes through his progression quickly. He gets rid of the ball quickly. That's that. Southern offensive line has kind of been, a source for concern for some members of Jaguar Nation, and a source of criticism for a lot of anti-Southern University fans. Basically, they felt like one of the main reasons why Southern struggled to run the ball last year at a certain point is basically, Southern offensive line play is not what it was in years past. And I'm not gonna lie, truthfully speaking, they're not as dominant as they were, especially in like those mid-90s. When you had early to mid-90s, when you had Lindsey Scott Sr. and Melvin Williams Jr. at running back. However, I'm not gonna lie, after the Nicholls State game, Coach Graves, he started to push the right buttons and put the right linemen and rearrange linemen and so on and so forth. 4 of those starters from that team is coming back. So I think that's a good sign. The only position that's really kind of up in the air is the left tackle spot. We're going to see how they play that, whether they go with the freshman offensive tackle from Zachary or they go with the transfer. I mean, we're going to see how things play out. But even with that being said, I think Southern offensive line, they have a veteran offensive line, they have chemistry. So I think, I think they're gonna be straight in terms of the offensive line play. I think the thing that's gonna elevate them from an offensive standpoint is not only having not just a good quarterback, not just a competent quarterback, but a good quarterback. I'm willing to go out on a limb early. I'm willing to say if he stays healthy the entire season, I believe Jalen Woods is going to make second team all SWAC. At least second team all SWAC. That's my personal opinion. I know people going to be like, oh, coach, you reaching. That's a stretch. That's my opinion. I'm entitled to that. But I think the elevation of play from the skill players, first starting with the running back room. You got Trey Holly, who transferred from LSU. Trey Holly is the all-time leading rusher in terms of record holding, in terms of Louisiana running backs, that he broke Brissett's record, who started 5 years at University Lab, which is the feeder school for LSU. And then Nick Brissett left University Lab and went to LSU. He didn't become the college player that, we thought he would based on his high school career. But Nick Brissett had all the running back records in the state of Louisiana, and Trey Holly broke all of them. Of course, he had, I talked about it ad nauseum on this channel. He has a pending murder charge, and for all intents and purposes, he didn't even get convicted by the grand jury in terms of getting indicted by the grand jury. So he didn't get indicted by the grand jury. That in itself tells me that eventually these charges are going to be dropped. And for individuals that don't know the justice system in Louisiana, basically, if you're really not guilty, what they do is they give you continuance after continuance after continuance. They give you court date after court date after court date after court date, and they keep pushing it off and off and off and off and off and off and off. And eventually they just drop the charges. They put you through some type of pre-trial intervention program or whatever they're going to do. So I think Union Parish is going to end up dropping the charges. But Trey Holly, he set out, he started as, he played, not started, but he played as a true freshman at LSU. Because of LSU's rule, they can't have people with pending felony charges on the active roster in terms of playing. He had to sit out his entire sophomore year. He got redshirted. So now he comes to Southern as a redshirt sophomore. He's not game shape yet, but I'm not going to lie. He's been ripping off a lot of long runs. He's been a dynamic player, in scrimmages and so on and so forth. So he definitely going to get a lot of running back. And, of course, they also got graduate running back from UTEP and Jacksonville State, Mike Franklin. He is your 5 yards in a cloud of dust type of running back. Big, strong, physical. Man, he a beast. Running people over. So those probably going to be your top 2 running backs. But they also have guys that was on the roster last year like Jason Gabriel, like Barry Remo. And then you also bring in Amarian Asbury, who's kind of like a combination of Trey Holly and Mike Franklin. And then they got Louisiana Tech transfer Princeton, Cahey. So Southern University is deep with good, talented running backs. And in addition to that, you got Minor at tight end, and then you got Dupree at tight end. Dupree, Fuller Dupree is second team preseason all SWAC at tight end. And of course, Coach Graves is really gassing him up, saying like, hey, you should feel insulted. You should feel disrespected from the standpoint of, you're not first team, but you second team. So you need to go out here and you need to ball out. So it's going to be interesting to see how often Coach Mark Frederick and Coach Terrence Graves, how often they're going to go with a 2 tight end look out of a shotgun package. So it's going to be interesting to see if they play Dupree and Minor together, or they just go with one of those tight ends. And then when that tight end needs a breather, they bring the other one in. So it's going to be interesting to see that. But not only that, but the wide receiving position. Darren Morris, of course, he's the veteran. He's the leader. He's the senior guy. So you got Darren Morris. In addition to that, you got Kobe Brown, who came from St. James High School. You got Malachi Sticks Jackson. So in terms of the receivers, you got a talented receiving core. You got a loaded running back room, and you have a veteran offensive line presence. So I think with much improved quarterback play, from a talent perspective, you got a huge upgrade. Don't get me wrong. Kendrick Grimes was my guy. Y'all know how hard I was riding with Kendrick Grimes. I caught a lot of heat from a lot of my subscribers from the standpoint of, they felt like, look, hey, Kendrick Grimes entered the transfer portal. That was his decision. Like, we ride for Southern over Kendrick Grimes. And I'm like, look, I felt like as a coaching staff, you got a guy that basically was going to be a graduate senior. He already was a senior, but the NCAA granted him 1 more year eligibility. I'm like, why not do what you could to bring him back? But I had to give Coach Graves and his staff credit. They went out and they got Mike Franklin. They got Princeton Cahey. They got Amarian Asbury. Double A, Amarian Duke Asbury. You also got Jason Gabriel. You got Barry Remo. Then you was able to get Trey Holly to come from LSU and come to Southern. Man, that was a huge get. And the thing about the Trey Holly move, I'm not even going to lie. I said this multiple times. This was the type of move that would benefit a team like Jackson State because, they've been synonymous for getting these big-time guys to come from either other SWAC schools or from PWI Power Fives to come from their institution to Jackson State. And finally, Southern got one of these type of players. Of course, Southern already got earlier, prior to Trey Holly, they got Demarion Johnson, defensive tackle from LSU. But either way, it's a big move for Southern. I think Southern is going to be much improved offensively. So I think that's the thing that's really going to take them over the top this season is not only do you have a defense that has been good for the last few years. Of course, you're missing 3 starters off the defensive line from last year. You got a few holes to plug. But like I said, multiple times they replaced Taj Brown, they replaced Jason Dumas, they replaced they replaced multiple defensive linemen. They replaced Jordan Lewis with Kelby Gibbons, replaced Taj Brown, replaced Jason Dumas. So I don't think it should be a problem replacing Darius Harry and Willie Miles and Davin Cotton. I think you could replace the 3 of them because they've done it the last 2 years, constantly replacing defensive linemen they've lost. So I'm not concerned about that. I think the defense is going to do what they're going to do, but it's going to be interesting to see how well the offense plays. And I'm telling you, I think Southern's offense, led by Jalen Woods, is going to shock a lot of people. Southern offense is going to do big things against North Carolina Central. And not only that, but they're going to do big things this season, just in general. So the only real question mark in my mind is the special team standpoint. Let's start with the elephant in the room. Let me address it right now. Kenny Lee Pham at punter, man, he was hard to watch a lot of times last year. I mean, certain points he would come out on the field. He'll give you 29-yard punt, a 30-yard punt, 33-yard punt, 34-yard punt. I'm like, dude, like all of these punts in the low 30s, like, come on, man. Like hopefully he worked on his game a lot this summer and his game is much improved. Hopefully he can make the kind of quantum leap that Ruben Beauplain's made from his junior to his senior year. Hopefully he was in the lab constantly working on his punting game and he was grinding because I'm not going to lie, I'm going to just keep it a buck. He left a lot to be desired. And the year before with Ruben Beauplain, even though Ruben Beauplain missed the Golden Foot, even though he didn't make one of the 2 all-SWAC teams, in my personal opinion, he was one of the better punters in the SWAC. Many instances, Southern defense would be pinned deep. Ruben Beauplain would come on the field, and he would punt the ball, and he would flip field position. It wasn't like that last year with Kenny Lee Pham, man. A lot of times, I'm not going to lie, the defense just had to thug it out because the opposing offense got a short field multiple times with Kenny Lee Pham as the punter. So hopefully he's improved. Then you bring in Nathan Zimmer to replace, Joshua Griffin at kicker. And I'm not going to lie, Joshua Griffin wasn't as good as Carlos Leach, in my opinion, but from a leg strength standpoint, I think he had the competitive advantage over, somebody like Carlos Leach. The issue is with Joshua Griffin last year, he had the leg strength. He just wasn't always accurate and as consistent as somebody like a Carlos Leach. But it's going to be interesting to see can Nathan Zimmer replace him. And then the last component from a special team standpoint is getting a dynamic punt and kick returner Southern has had punt and kick returners over the years like Kenyatta Sparks, like Fred Bailey, like Ezra Landry, like Willie Quinn. Southern has not had that type of dynamic punt and kick returner that every time they touch the ball, opposing teams are concerned, they're afraid. And in addition to that, they just don't want to kick. I was watching the 93 game against Alcorn State recently, and I'm not gonna lie, Alcorn State kept kicking the ball to either Fred Bailey or Kenyatta Sparks. Sometimes they would intentionally kick the ball away from Fred Bailey, would kick it to Kenyatta Sparks. He would get a big return. They would kick it away from Kenyatta Sparks to Fred Bailey. He would get a big return. You couldn't kick to either one of them. So it got to a point where they were like squib kicking and stuff like that, giving them good field position. And then they got to the point like, all right, we're not giving up this good field position. We just going to kick it deep. And, man, the two of them just was busting Alcorn State head to the white meat. And people wonder why, like, how did Southern in 93 beat a team led by Steve Air McNair? Steve Air McNair was a beast as a quarterback in the SWAC. But the issue was Southern had a good defense, even though, you know, he juked a lot of people out there jockstrap that night, and he rolled a lot of ankles. But even with that being said, Southern offense was able to move the ball. And from a special team standpoint, a lot of times, because Southern was down like 14-0 in that game. But you had Fred Bailey and Kenyatta Sparks that had multiple punt and kick returns. If it wasn't for a touchdown, it put Southern in real good position to get ready to score with Eric Rounder. And the crazy thing about it was, one time they kicked the ball to Fred Bailey, and he returned it for a touchdown. They called it back, then they turned around and kicked the Kenyatta Sparks, and he almost returned it for a touchdown. So I'm like, bro, why y'all keep kicking to these two dudes? Southern has not had a punt and kick returner like that since Willie Quinn. And the irony is, Jackson State has Travis Terrell Jr. Southern has nobody like that. They haven't had nobody like that in a minute. They need to go find that guy. I don't know if they have one of those on their roster, but they need to find one quick, fast, and in a hurry. You know what I'm saying? So hopefully they address that issue. You know what I'm saying? And then, in fact, before I transition to the last portion, while I get ready to make my prediction, E. Walker said okay in terms of my brother Jared Lovin Green, because Autism Boy Cottage 81, he was asking, Southern overrated, and Jared Lovin Green said no, they are. No, they are not. And E. Walker said okay. Jay Good said some would say the same for the left tackle in terms of the left tackle position is questionable, you know what I'm saying? But we'll see how things play out this season, you know what I'm saying? And your boy Jay said, I trust Fred McNair before I trust Coach Coach Totten. I would never understand that Noah stuff from last year. Both QBs outperformed him in camp last year. Well, I'm not gonna lie, your boy Jay. I'm from my perspective last year. You know, that's the thing that has me so encouraged this season, because the last two springs, Harold Blood, in a SWAC championship game before that, he was terrible, even though he played good against Florida Memorial and Virginia Lynchburg. When the competition stepped up, Harold Blood was awful. But I'm like, well, he showed some progression from the SWAC championship game to the spring game. He didn't show a lot, but he showed some progression. So I was hopeful, and he didn't do nothing. They stuck with him way too long when it came to Harold Blood. The same thing with Noah. I'm not gonna lie, in my opinion, looking at the spring game last year, I can't talk about, about spring practice, even though ZT said got the offense moving early. But this past spring, I'm not gonna lie, Jalen Woods lit it up. You know what I'm saying? But I agree with you. I think they stuck with Noah way too long. Like, and then the thing about it is, they would go to Zay. Zay have a good game or so, then he would drop off. So it's crazy how Southern was so consistent at quarterback, and why, and like you said, why did it take so long to go to Jalen Woods? Noah got his shot, he didn't make it happen. Zay got his shot, he didn't make it happen. You go back to Noah, then you go back to Zay. I'm like, bro, why y'all keep skipping over Jalen Woods? It took them a long time to actually give Jalen Woods a shot, and when he really did get a shot, he did his thing. You know what I'm saying? Spartan 35 said SU is going to be in trouble if Trey Holly can't run for 200 yards. Man, Trey Holly don't need to run for 200 yards. I mean, you got Trey Holly, you got Mike Franklin. Mike Franklin is gonna play a lot. He's 6'2". He like 225, 230 pounds. Trey Holly is not gonna get all the touches. Trey Holly gonna get touches. Princeton, he gonna get touches. Mike Franklin gonna get touches. We don't know if Amari and Asbury gonna get touches. Barry Remo. And you got to realize, really, for the exception of Mike Franklin, like all the Southern University backs are like smallish, third down type backs. The thing I like about Mike Franklin and Amari and Asbury is those two backs. They're not like the rest of those smallish, jitterbug, third down, juku type running backs. Like Mike Franklin is huge. He big. He physical. He's strong. He gonna run you over, and he got speed to go with it. And whereas Amari and Asbury, double A, Amari and Duke Asbury, he kind of in the middle from the standpoint of, he not as big and strong and physical as Mike Franklin, but he faster, and he not quite as fast as Trey Holly, but he kind of in the middle. I think he could kind of be, if this was the 90s, he could be your starting fullback easy, you know what I'm saying? Your boy Jay said, Coach Gray said Mike Franklin running with is going to be hard to tackle 6'2", 220-pound running. And that's my point. Like I've seen him, people send me clips of him behind the scenes. At certain points, he's just 5 yards in a cloud of dust. And then in other instances, like he running over people, but he getting bigger runs, like 15, 20-yard runs. So North Carolina Central going to have a long day. They think they just going to come and just hit this boy and bring him on the ground. Like Trey Hardy going to juke you out the jock strap one play, and then Mike Franklin will just run you over the next play. So that's going to be the problem, you know what I'm saying? And your boy Jason, for Nathan Zimmer to be a freshman, be sure, he sure doesn't kick like one. His range is 40+ as a freshman. That's good as a freshman kicker, you know what I'm saying? And like Jay Good said, the running back room is deep. Merlin A said, we got 7 running backs. Probably the best running back room in the SWAC. No, Merlin A, we don't have 7. We got 8 running backs, Merlin A. We don't have 7, we got 8. You know what I'm saying? So you're right. That's definitely a deep running back room. We got the best running back room in the SWAC, hands down, in my personal opinion, you know what I'm saying? And Coach Kevin Walker, salute to you, bro. He said, I was speaking on fam going to multiple punting camps. So, I mean, that's the thing about it, If he went to multiple punting camps, hopefully he can be a Ruben Beauplant's, Matt Bushart type punter, because I'm not going to lie, last year he left so much to be desired, man. You know what I'm saying? And Jay Good said, if they're bigger than Franklin at 6'2", 225, probably hit it to tight end. Yeah, that's the same thing, too. You know what I'm saying? Easy say, I can't believe I'm saying this. SU 28, North Carolina Central 21. Fired up. JSU fired up. J-State fired up. Woo, no thank you, bro. That's not going to happen. I'm not going to lie. Let me get to the prediction. I ain't going to lie. You got Southern winning by a touchdown. I got it being a closer game than that. I got Southern winning 28-24 in a close game. In my personal opinion, Southern will win this game, but I think they're going to have to overcome some adversity. They're going to have to overcome some trials. They're going to have to overcome some tribulations. And I don't think Southern just going to – and that's the thing about it. Let me be clear. North Carolina Central is the favorite in this game. Despite what some of us members of Jaguar Nation like myself saying, North Carolina Central is the favorite heading into this game. And some people got them being a 10-point favorite, or as much as a 10-point favorite. I don't see it being a 10-point gap between these two teams, one way or the other. In my personal opinion, it's going to be a dogfight. It's going to be a close game, but I honestly and fervently believe Southern is going to win 28-24. That's my prediction, and that's my pick for this game. And Nathan Frank says Southern will win this game. I just said that, Nathaniel Frank. Salute to you, Nathaniel Frank. But like I said, in my personal opinion, Southern wins this game. It's going to be a close game. It's going to be a dogfight. I think Jalen Woods is going to play well. I think Trey Holly is going to play well. I think Mike Franklin is going to play well. I think who else? I think I'm going to say Fuller Dupree is gonna play well. I say Darren Morris is gonna play well. I think another receiver gonna step up. And that's the thing about it. You're not just gonna be able to load up the box. Cause see, that's what teams think. Well, hey, Mark Frederick, all he want to do is run the ball, run the ball, run the ball, run the ball. We know this. But this year, we're going to have better than competent quarterback play. You're not just going to be able to load up the box and take away Southern University's running game. It's not going to happen. So, North Carolina Central could say, hey, we just going to load up the box and take away y'all running game. Jalen Woods going to prove a lot of people wrong week 0. You know what I'm saying? Your boy Jay said, it's week 0. Both teams are fresh. A lot of issues to work out. I got it being 14-10 SU. Nah, I got it 28-24 SU. I think offense going to be much improved. I think the defense, they're going to play good, but North Carolina Central, they're a big, strong, physical team. They got a lot of starters returning on both sides of the ball. They got a real good quarterback. I'm not going to lie. I'll be foolish for me to think that Southern is just going to, go to Atlanta and dominate North Carolina Central. It's not going to happen. It's going to be a tight game. It's going to be a close game. That's another thing, too. Southern is going to have to show some, not only physical toughness, but they're going to have to show some mental toughness and some grit and some intestinal fortitude in this game. They're not just going to punch North Carolina Central in the mouth and North Carolina Central is going to go away. Hey, they're going to have to win a dogfight. It's going to be a dogfight. So don't just think they're going to go to Atlanta and just punch them in the mouth. You know what I'm saying? KC said, we in here. You already know. You know what I'm saying? What it do, KC. And he said, go Jags. Man, you already know. Spartan 35 said, I think it's going to be a Nickel State spread. I think North Carolina Central will win by 28 points. Spartan 35, I think you bump your head. I don't even see Jackson State at this point beating Southern by 28 points. That's my personal opinion. I could be wrong, but we're going to see how it's going to play out Saturday. You know what I'm saying? Because Spartan 35 said he think it's going to be a Nickel State type spread. He think North Carolina Central going to win. Beat the Jags by 28. It is not happening. I don't see it. I can't see it. Your boy Jay said the X factor in this game going to be Mark Frederick. Fans are down on him already. I'm not going to lie. I'm not down on him already because the season ain't started yet, your boy Jay. The season ain't started yet. So I can't be down on him already. But based on what he did last year, yeah, a lot of members of Jaguar Nation not too high on Mark Frederick. Mark Frederick, he got to show us something, you know what I'm saying? Coach Kevin Walker said it is going to be a very physical game. I agree with you 100%, Coach Kevin Walker. It's going to be a knockdown, drag-out affair, in my personal opinion. Jay Good said laugh out loud. Yeah, I'm laughing out loud at Spartan 35 to think that North Carolina Central going to beat Southern by 28. Man, it is not happening. And Maryland A said, LOL, not a Spartan in here. LOL, not a Spartan in here. Yeah, I agree with you 100%. There's no way that they're getting smashed like that. I mean, and that's the thing about it. I'm not going to lie. Let me not even mince words. Let me be clear. Let me be transparent. It is imperative. I think, as a coach, you always want to start your season off on a high note. You know what I'm saying? You want to start your season off on a high note. You want to, you want to start out on a good note, and you want to get your momentum going in a good direction. You want to start out with some good positive mojo, you know what I'm saying? So I'm not gonna lie, I'm not gonna sugarcoat it. As a coach, from a coaching perspective, this is a must-win game for Southern. Individuals like myself, we got high expectations for Southern this season. So it's a must that Southern go out here and win this game. It's a must-win game, in my personal opinion, because the reason being, just like I said at the beginning of the season last year, with the whole McNeese State situation, like if Coach Graves, if he lose to North Carolina Central, we're gonna say even if he beat Valley, then you lose to Fresno State, you lose to Jackson State. Guess what? Jaguar Nation, it could get real ugly for Coach Graves real quick. Don't misunderstand this. If stuff start trending in the wrong direction, Jaguar Nation could turn on Coach Graves quickly, and you can have some boo birds, and you can have people saying, guess what? Hey, we need to get him out here. We need to get somebody else in here. So that's why I think it's imperative that Southern wins this game, week 0, Saturday, ABC in Atlanta, SWAC MEAC kickoff challenge. It's going to be imperative that Southern win this game, in my personal opinion. M1 first game of the season, North Carolina Central has continuity with many returners. 28-14 North Carolina Central. I mean, to me, I think that prediction is a little bit more realistic than them beating Southern by 28 points. But we're going to see what it's going to be, you know what I'm saying? Donnie Page said, I agree, it's going to be a black and blue game. Big facts, Donnie Page. It's going to be my personal opinion. I mean, don't get me wrong. M1 makes an excellent point. North Carolina Central has a lot of continuity, bringing a lot of players back. You know, they one of the top teams in the MEAC. So I'm not sleeping on North Carolina Central. But for North Carolina Central fans to be sleeping on Southern and think that North Carolina Central just going to punch Southern in the mouth and Southern's just going to lay down, it's not going to happen. You know what I'm saying? And Spartan 35 said, all North Carolina Central has to do is stop the run. SU doesn't have a solid quarterback. Yeah, you really sleeping on Jalen Woods. Clearly you didn't see Jalen Woods play the last few games of the season, Spartan 35. He said all North Carolina Central has to do is stop the run. SU doesn't have a solid quarterback. Who can hit the broadside of a born? SU only chance in hell is to run the wishbone. Spartan 35. You must think Southern still has Harold Blood, or Noah Barton, or ZT said at quarterback. Clearly you didn't see the game against Bethune where he came in the game and he went through his progression quickly. He made good reads. He got rid of the ball quick. He made quick passes. He got it to the right receiver. You didn't see the game against UAPB. You didn't see the game against Grambling. In the Grambling game, they really didn't let him throw the ball a lot. I don't know why they had him run read option. That's why he got the concussion. In the Grambling game, he might have made 2 bad passes, but for the most part, like he was accurate. He got rid of the ball quickly. He does what he does. He's a pure pocket passer, Spartan 35. So for you to sit back and think that he Bashawn McCray, he Harold Blood, he Noah Barton, he's AT Set, you're sleeping with your eyes open, Spartan 35. Your boy Jay said Jalen Woods is returning to his hometown on Saturday. I expect him to be ready for sure. 100%, your boy Jay. I agree with you 100%. And Blackwater Bayou, go Jags and salute Coach. Man, salute to the family of Blackwater Bayou. Peace and blessings to your family. But I'm not going to lie, you know, like I planned on being here for a good time, not a long time, on episode 1, season 1, the tailgate party. And of course, you know, I'm going to just keep this train rolling throughout the season. You know, this is going to be my new flagship show. I'm only going to do probably, for the most part, this is what it's going to be moving forward. I'm going to do the tailgate party once a week. I'm going to do, you know, a special episode here and there. You know, so I'm going to roll that out and unveil that later on during the season. But for the most part, I'm going to do post-game reactions and maybe a video here and there. But for the most part, you know, that's what it's going to be. It's going to be the tailgate party once a week. And I'm going to do a post-game reaction and maybe a video here and there. But that's all it's going to be. You know what I'm saying? And one say, what does SU O-line look like this season? Will they give them running backs lanes to run? I think that's the thing about it. I think having these dynamic running backs, Southern returns 4 starters on the offensive line. You know, for the most part, they were able to lean on like lesser teams in the SWAC, like Grambling, like UAPB, and they were just able to just line up, punch teams in the mount. But when they got against the big boys, against JSU, against FAMU, I'm not gonna lie, those 2 teams pretty much handle Southern's offensive line up front. So that's one of the major question marks in one. Is Southern offensive line with those 4 returning starters? You know, are they going to be much improved from last year? So that's going to be that's a major concern. But you know, they've been able to play well, and for the most part, iron sharpens iron, according to Coach Mark Frederick. You know, Southern's defense is very good, and Southern offense. You know, some days Southern offense get the better of the defense. Some days the defense get the better offense. Other days it's about 50-50. For the scrimmage, you know, the defense had their moments, but for the most part, Southern's offense handled Southern's defense. So I'm encouraged by that. You know what I'm saying? So, you know, that addresses the offensive line aspect of it. You know, Donnie Page Say Woods is way better than the other 3 quarterbacks Southern had last year, Spartan 35. Come on, man. Like, see what I'm saying? Spartan 35 really don't know. I don't think he watched Jalen Woods play like that. You know what I'm saying? And he said BCU and UAPB are high-level D2 teams. North Carolina Central isn't those teams. I'll be back after the 28-point loss. And guess what, Spartan 35? If North Carolina Central beats Southern, then guess what? You could gloat all you want in my post-game reaction. And if Southern wins, then I'm going to say, I told you so, Spartan 35. So either way the cut go, I'm not ducking smoke. My post-game reaction is going to be after the game. So if Southern gets punched in the mouth, I'm going to be highly heated, and I'm going to say Spartan 35 was right. However, if and when Southern wins, then I'm going to say I told you so, Spartan 35. It is what it is, you know what I'm saying? And Maryland A said exactly. His decision-making is quick. Yeah, I'm not going to lie, Maryland A. He goes through his progression quickly. He gets rid of the ball quickly. He throws a good tight spiral and a catchable pass. That's the thing Spartan 35 really don't know. You know what I'm saying? And he said, we haven't had that in a while. Because I'm not going to lie, quarterback play for the last few years has been trash with Bashawn McCray and Harold Blood and Noah Barton and ZT Set. I'm not even going to sugarcoat that. He said, with a great running game, it will be really, really open. You're going to open up the passing game. Big facts, Maryland A. So, like I said, I planned on being here for a good time, but not for a long time. Man, let me go through everybody. Adrian Crook, salute. Motivation to be a millionaire. Relaxing calm rain. Your boy Jay. Johnny Thornton. Adrian Crook. Kevin Jackson. Will Wallace. Yeah. My brother, Autism Boy, Cottage 81. My brother, Jerry Lovin Green. My brother, Jay Good. E. Walker. Spartan 35. Merlin A. Coach Kevin Walker. Nathaniel Frank. The brother KC. Easy or Ezzy. Hopefully I'm not mispronouncing it. Donnie Page. M1. Blackwater Bayou. Spartan 35 see. In fact, let me get these last couple before I get out the building. Merlin A said exactly his decision making skills are quick. Yep, I read that one already. Merlin A said online has vets. Y'all really sleeping. And Spartan 35 said we are sending Oldham back home to Southern. We have Vic now, LOL. Yeah. I don't think it's gonna be as easy as people thinking it's gonna be for Vic, but we're gonna see. And Coach Kevin Walker says safe travels to anyone headed to Atlanta. Like I said, the plan is for me to catch. I don't be to catch Atlanta on the front end, but if the law said the same, I plan on catching Atlanta on the back end. So just so we don't have no misunderstanding, let me give y'all my schedule for the rest of the week. Tomorrow, at the same time, 8 p.m. Central Standard Time, I'll make a guest appearance on the brother C. Wells show, SWAC Talk. So tomorrow, come over to C. Wells channel, SWAC Talk. We gonna give a preview for the Southern University Jaguars. He gave a preview for everybody in the SWAC. He said the best for last. He gonna get the Southern tomorrow. And not only that, but we're gonna talk about the matchup week 0 against North Carolina Central. In addition to that, either it's gonna air Thursday night, we're gonna go live Thursday night, or it's gonna air like early on Friday. Another episode of HBCU Fanatics. The Fanatics gonna be in the build-on with my brother Jared Lovin Green. Come over to his channel, Either gonna be Thursday night or Friday morning, one of the two. So tomorrow, SWAC talk with C Wells, and Thursday or Friday, HBCU Fanatics with my brother Jared Lovin Green. Also, y'all be certain, go over to my brother Jared Lovin Green channel. Go check him out. You know, we've been doing some dope content in terms of HBCU Fanatics, because HBCU Fanatics is more of a balanced approach to things, whereas on my channel is more of a Southern University perspective. And also, go over to my brother Brent Fox's channel and check him out. It's highlighted right here. Man, my brother Brent Fox, you know, he's a Pittsburgh Steelers fan. He one of the members of the Southern Baller Show Collective with my brother Jared Lovin Green and my brother Jay Good and my brother JB and my brother Big Joe Townsend. So, man, y'all go over to my brother Brent Fox channel and check him out. Also, y'all go check out my brother Cadillac Red, Supreme Beast Boxing Talk. You know, he does his thing, so go check out Supreme Beast Boxing Talk. Go check out my sister, the beloved Queen Shawala Yah on her channel. Also, go check out my brother 7A Sports TV. Has 2 channels. His primary channel is 7A Sports TV. His backup channel is the No 304 Show. My channel is closing in on 1,000 subscribers. So please, if you have not done so already, please subscribe to the channel if you have not done so already. Like this live stream, share it, especially anybody that's in the HBCU content. Man, subscribe to the channel. And not only that, but I want to give a major shout out to all the content creators in the HBCU space. You know, my brother C. Wells, Swag Talk, the brother Doc Holiday, HBCU Overdrive, Carlos Brown, Perry White with the Jaguar Journal, She Loves D, PV versus Everybody, Rocket Miller, Scotty Allscript. Man, you know, you got so many content creators in the space. I want to give shout outs to everybody, major love to all the HBCU content creators. And I'm going to let y'all know now so we don't have no misunderstanding. I plan on shaking and moving around these HBCU streets this season. You know, collaborating with a lot more HBCU content creators. You know, a lot of people talk about how, you know, they want me to work more with C. Wells and SWAC Talk. You know, so I want to collaborate more with more HBCU content creators this season. So look forward to that. Man, shout out to the brother Joseph David. Major shout out to you, bro. But like I said, that's it for season 1, episode 1, the Tailgate Party. Y'all catch me tomorrow. SWAC Talk with C. Wells. After that, the day or two after that, HBCU Fanatics with my brother Jared Lovin Green. And then, of course, I'm definitely going to do a post-game reaction. I'm going to catch y'all on the rebound. Y'all have a blessed and phenomenal evening. Peace and blessings. And go Jags.